This presentation is for students who are using the traditional classroom rather than in 2020. You should be listening to this after you have listened to the general orientation information. This class is designed so a diligent and motivated student can finish all their work in 60 hours. No materials are to leave the classroom. Folders and reading material must not leave the room. If you are worried you may not finish your assignments in time and you have internet access, you can do work outside the classroom. iWeebly contains a syllabus with links to your material. However, this does not mean that you don't have to come to class. Only under extreme circumstances will a student receive credit for a class in less than 45 hours of classroom time. Even when you submit papers using Google Docs, it is imperative that you include your full name, date, and hour at the top right corner of the page. I have many papers to grade, and this makes my job much easier. Again, in sharing your work with me, I will only grade it when you put your folder in the wire file by the window. Even though each grade and semester contains different texts and assignments, all classes are set up in a similar fashion. Please review your assignment sheet as we go through each section. The next few slides will talk about each assignment. We will be using my Weebly, jmcnaughton.weebly.com, for many of the assignments. You'll notice that each page is set up like your paper syllabus or assignment sheet, but there are also links to websites with your assignments. At the top of each assignment sheet, there are a list of themes that will be covered in your anchor text. The anchor text is the main novel that you will be reading, and it links to all the rest of the assignments. Each assignment also has an approximate completion time. This will help you to know if you are keeping on track. I also use this approximate time in completing folder checks. If you are having problems keeping up, please let me know as soon as possible so we can come up with a solution. Your class is divided into two 30-hour sections. The first section is the A section and consists of tasks 1 through 12. The second 30-hour section is Part B and has tasks 13 through 24. If you are working on the first 30 hours or the A part, you will be working on tasks 1 through 12. If it's the second 30 hours, you'll be working on tasks 13 through 24. The first thing that you must do after your orientation, or when you finish watching this video, is to take a pretest. This test is usually taken online. I will set up an ID and password for you, then you will use the Weebly to link to the pretest. You have 1/2 hour to take the pretest. Don't worry about doing well. If you haven't read the anchor test, there's no way that you will. We are required to pre- and post-test all students. This gives us a baseline to work from. Do the best you can, but don't sweat it if you don't know the answer. Tasks 2 and 3, or 13 and 14, provide background about the author, the time period in history, the book, etc. It's best to do these tasks before you start your novel or your anchor text. You will find this background extremely helpful as you read your novel. Make sure you read the assignment very carefully before you start it. It's often easier to do something if you know what you're looking for first. When you finish these assignments, be sure to share them with me through Google Docs and put your folder in the wire file next to the window. Tasks 4 and 16. After you finish your background task, you should begin reading your anchor text or the novel. Answer your study guide as you are reading. The questions are in the same order as the novel. You will save a lot of time if you answer as you read along. Hint: read the question ahead of time, then look for the answer as you're reading. Your study guide will then become your notes for the post-test. One important note: for those of you that struggle reading, there are audio versions for most anchor texts on my Weebly. However, listening is not enough. Read along while you are listening. The more structure you have to reading and to words, the better reader you will become. Tasks 5 and 7 are the next tasks you'll work on, and it consists of reading informational text. These are non-fiction and tie into your anchor text. Be sure to read the assignment before you begin reading. It is helpful to take notes as you are reading. When you finish reading the text, do your assignment on Google Docs. Share it with me and put your folder in the lawyer file by the window. Tasks 6 and 18 consist of a 5-paragraph essay. Read the prompts carefully and choose just one. And make sure you have a rubric before you begin. A 5-paragraph essay consists of an introduction. The introduction should have a hook, or something that attracts the reader's attention. The last sentence should be your thesis statement. This is the backbone of your paper. You are telling the reader exactly what you plan on writing about. It answers the prompt. If the prompt asks you to write about a person with resilience and how they overcame adversity, your thesis would go something like, despite insurmountable odds, Helen Keller was able to overcome her tremendous disabilities through patience, determination, and a great teacher. Again, this is just an example. You will answer your own way. The next 3 paragraphs are going to explain why you came up with your thesis. In the Helen Keller example, we talked about that she had patience, determination, and a great teacher. So the next paragraph you work on, the second paragraph, you would discuss her patience. Be sure to use an example or 2 out of the text to prove your thesis. The next paragraph, or the third paragraph, would discuss her determination, and the following, or the 4th paragraph, would be about Anne Sullivan, her teaching abilities, and that was Helen Keller's teacher. The final, or 5th paragraph, is the conclusion. You should restate your introduction, or your thesis. Do not start any new ideas here. This is the paragraph to tie up all the loose ends and to let the reader know that you are finished. By the way, 5 paragraphs is a minimum. If you have more to say, please do. Tasks 7 and 19 deal with music and literature. We often don't think of music as literature, but it is. Often it's poetry. There are several song choices. These songs were chosen because the artist said they were influenced in some way to write the song because the anchor text touched them in some way. You are to choose one of the songs and compare it to the text. There's an example of the writing on my Weebly. Tasks 8 and 20 deal with art and literature. I've never been able to decide whether music, art, and literature influence history, or if history influences music, art, and literature. I don't know. Perhaps it's both. This assignment is varied depending on the grade level and your anchor text. You may be asked to study a political picture, cartoon, architecture, a mural, modern art, Renaissance art, or a number of other things. Read the prompt for your assignment first, then study the artwork carefully, and think about your anchor text. Compare the 2, then write your assignment based on the prompt. Tasks 9 and 21 are your post-test. The post-test is the same as the pre-test. You have 1 hour to take it. It will either be given online or on a paper test. You may take this test any time after you've finished assignment 4, which is the reading of your anchor text. Make sure your study guide is graded first, since you can use it for the exam. You must show significant improvement over your pre-test to pass this class. Tasks 10 and 22 are part of your daily participation in FIT. I keep daily grades, and when you finish off your other assignments, I will calculate your grade. If you have an unexcused absence, you will receive a 0 on your FIT for that day. Because these assignments are varied, there is no way you can make them up. Your best bet is to be in class every day and to participate in these daily activities. Tasks 11 and 23 are reading from your contemporary novel. This is the novel you will read on SSR Day. You will probably also be reading other days besides every Wednesday. And the novel you are reading is chosen based on the theme for your unit. It will tie in somehow with your anchor text. Before you begin reading your novel, carefully study the prompts and reread the themes at the top of your assignment sheet. As you are reading, think about both the prompts and the themes. One helpful hint. At the end of SSR Day, it is very, very helpful to write down the page you left off on and a quick short paragraph of what you read. Reread those notes before you begin reading the following week. This will save you a lot of time and grief. Tasks 12 and 24 are projects. There are 2 of them. The first is always a presentation, and you should use Google Slides. The second presentation can be done using another presentation software such as PowerPoint, Resi, or you may choose to do something totally different. If you want to do something different, you must get my permission first. It could be a wrap, a bulletin board, a poster, or for that matter, anything that really interests you. Again, I will need to know your plans before you begin the second project. As with all of your assignments, make sure you carefully read the instructions before you begin, and be sure to use a rubric. So let's take a couple minutes and talk about what would make a successful essay. Before you begin any assignment for that matter, make sure that you thoroughly understand the instructions. This is especially important when writing an essay. A good essay is time-consuming, so it's best to understand what you're doing before you even begin. First, brainstorm and write down your ideas. This is the pre-writing stage. If you need a graphic organizer to help you, I probably have one. Just ask me. The next step is the draft. Using Google Docs, write your ideas using complete sentences. Don't worry about word choice or spelling or any of that stuff at all. That will come later. Some people get writer's block with an introduction. Don't worry about that either. You can always write the introduction later. For now, the important part is to get your ideas down in sentence form. When you're done with the draft, put it away until the next day, or even the next. The next step is to revise your work. This is where you come up with better words, you move things around, you add, substitute, eliminate, whatever it takes to make your essay more readable. Again, don't worry about spelling or punctuation or grammar yet. That's the next step. And then the final step in writing an essay is to edit. That's where you're really looking at the mechanics. Is everything spelled correctly? How's my grammar, my punctuation? This is also a pretty good time to have another person read your work. Have them look at the content of your paper, then the spelling, grammar, punctuation, etc. Constructive criticism can really be helpful. Your final step? Submit your paper for grading along with the rubric, and be sure to put your folder in the wire file by the window. My Weebly can be found at jmcnaughton.weebly.com. You will be using this quite often for your assignments. Also, the home page has all sorts of valuable tools such as links to dictionaries and a thesaurus. There's surveys you can take to determine your learning style, your career choices, and a plethora of other things, including this video. Be sure to check out the home page.